What'd you say?
Fold your titties up.
I can't.
Welcome, everybody. This is Hey Nurse Rocky. And what we wanted to do today was give you all some information about a couple stuff.
Okay, everybody, I have a very special guest with me today. This is my fiance. This is Cody. I'm so glad that he agreed.
Yeah.
AKA was bribed, AKA was guilt tripped into doing this video with me. So we just wanted to answer a couple questions. I recently got engaged and I posted that on my social media, and a lot of people didn't even know that I was dating. So and since you guys know I'm a travel nurse, a lot of people had questions like, well, how do you travel and date? Like, is that a thing? So we're here to tell you guys how we dated while I was a travel nurse, just pretty much dating long distance, and how that was for us. Plus, there are a few questions that you guys asked, so we'll answer those at the end of the video as well. So if you want to know a little bit more about us and our long distance dating story, then stay tuned. So the first thing that I would say, I'm looking at my phone and my notes, so just don't mind me. The first thing I would say is to be realistic. That is obviously like one of the number one things. That's whether you are meeting somebody on the road as you're traveling, or if you met somebody at home and you have plans to travel. You need to be upfront, you need to be realistic and be very honest about your goals. Luckily, me and him, well, I wouldn't say luckily, we met like while I was at home, while I was at my staff job, but he knew that I wanted to travel, so he respected that. Babe, how do you feel about me traveling?
I respect your traveling. It was something that I had to get used to. Just going back to her main point about being realistic, my kind of stance for our relationship has always been kind of like, what did you expect? Never getting out of the realm of realism, you know. So when we first met, it was kind of uncomfortable, but allowing her to have that space to just follow her dreams, follow the stuff that she's been wanting to do, and just having that kind of like foresight to say, well, she told me beforehand, like early on, that she wanted to do that. So it wasn't like a big surprise when it actually came to fruition, when she actually started putting out plans and when she actually started going out and, you know, leaving to go to California. So it was just being realistic. She was realistic from the beginning. She let me know what things were. And even now, there's another realistic step, you know, as we are transitioning into marriage and moving to a smaller city that doesn't have a lot of options, doesn't have a lot of things. It's also now another aspect of us being realistic about it. Now we got to say, well, there may not have the food places we like. It may not have this, it may not have that. But just always being realistic with what you want, being realistic with what you have, and just kind of like going in that whole sphere.
Yeah. You said that really well, baby. That was so comprehensive. I think he said everything in that. So number one point, be realistic. And just find a good way to just make the face. Ew. Making sure that you communicate your intention to focus on the relationship and your career goals at the same time. And yeah, just making sure that, well, I guess this goes into our second point, being intentional about making your significant other a priority. So intentional behavior such as, like for me and him, we had to really be intentional about seeing each other physically. The month of November, I was in Alabama, where he's from, like every other week, because he had things going on. And that's another thing I would say, like match up your calendars. Make sure you understand what big events are going on in each other's lives. Be honest and open. Communicate what you want them to be a part of. For us, I asked him which holiday is more important for me to be with you and your family at. He said Thanksgiving, and in my calendar and in my contract, I wasn't working Thanksgiving. I was available and I flew out for Thanksgiving. It's almost that simple. So just kind of be intentional about seeing each other physically, because that is very important. As big as FaceTime is in our relationship and in our generation, in our life, it is not enough to sustain a long distance relationship. You have to see each other. And I would say to be careful about, like, I don't know, keeping score almost, because I went to see him a lot, but I didn't expect for him to fly out to California as much as I flew out to Alabama. It was my choice. It was something that I was willing to do. And you can't keep score on that either, but it is important to see each other where you guys are.
Definitely. And just talking about some more aspects of just being intentional. Support, it's super important to be there for your significant other whenever something is going on in their life, or good or bad, negative or positive. Just taking that time out to make yourself available for them, whether it's getting on a plane, whether it's having that phone call, but just making sure that when things happen, you're there.
Yeah.
You're present and accounted for. So that's something that has been a big part. Like, I come from a family where it may not so much have been like financial support, but it's always been like physical support. So that's always been like deep to me and our relationship. And that's something we definitely want to give to our future family. Just that ideal of support, being there for somebody when something's going on. It's a major part of what we do.
Yeah. And that was something that I had to learn. It was something that we kind of grew into. It's almost a growing pain, because we had challenges where I wasn't able to make it to every major event for him. And so kind of seeing and learning what's important to... Cody, don't be throwing up signs. Seeing and understanding what's important to him, and him seeing and understanding what's important to me. That's a part of the process of growing, learning, and, growing together, I guess. So, yes, be intentional about seeing each other.
There is times when things are not going to go as planned. There's going to be times where people aren't going to be able to make it to things where, long distance relationships don't always afford you the ability to be there for somebody in the way they may want you to be in the time that you may be able to give to somebody. So being able to just understand that failure is going to come. You're not always going to be able to be there. You're not always going to be able to make that phone call. You're not always going to be able to do everything that's possible for you to do. Expect that some things aren't going to work out, and be accepting of the other person when, hey, they don't make it to that recital, they don't make it to that game, or they don't make it to whatever. But just being accepting of that person, because, hey, what else do you expect? It's neither one of us is perfect. No long distance relationship will be perfect. You will have times where things are just gonna be whack, man.
Yeah.
And, so you gotta move through it.
And even just the point of you saying, like, sometimes it's just gonna be whack, and it's not always gonna be picture perfect. Because, like, one of the points that I was saying with being intentional about seeing each other in time and FaceTime. So we would FaceTime, like, very minimum once a day, but most of the time I was expecting like twice a day. Like, when I woke up and when I went to sleep, like, I had high expectations for that. And sometimes a lot of times his schedule wouldn't allow it. And then I work night shift. So sometimes it just was off the way things would, both of our availabilities would fall. And I would be upset if he wasn't, if he wasn't available when I got off work, but he wasn't up yet because I was in California. It's a 2-hour difference. Plus we're on different, like, it was just a hot mess. And so, like he was saying, sometimes it's just gonna be whack. It doesn't always speak to the health of the relationship if things, aren't able to go as planned or things like that. So sometimes you have to really, I don't know. That goes back into healthy expectations, communication. That's really all it boils down to. Healthy expectations, communication, honesty in communication. Like, those are like core things when it comes to long distance dating, and we're still learning.
And then just like that idea of giving and taking, and being able to compromise. Sometimes compromise is looked at as a bad word, but oftentimes it can be a way to prevent arguments, stop arguments, just create that peace that sometimes needs to be there. So having that moment where you can give and take, having that time that you can just say, okay, I see what you want here. I may not be able to fulfill all of that. Like she said, I wanted all these calls. Well, I can't call you like that. Number one, I don't be liking to be on the phone like that. And then number two is just like I had a schedule that didn't allow for all of that. But and just like having that give and take, because there are going to be some things that either party expects, and it's just like, it's not realistic. But being okay to say, I'm not down for that. I'm not okay with this part. I can't fulfill this part. I could, but it would be too damaging to my own self. So just being okay to say no, and being okay to say, I'll try. Or even just being okay to say, I can do some of that, but I can't do all of that.
Yeah.
So having that's been a major part of our relationship.
Yeah,
giving and taking.
Yeah, and because you have to remember that you are individuals in your own place. Like, you have a world to maintain, you have a lifestyle to uphold. And so me asking, hey, call me, he's like, but I like to get up in the morning and read. But I like to get up in the morning and just have quiet time. And I'm sitting here like, you got to call me when you wake up because I'm going to bed after I get off work. And it's just like, you have to realize that there are lifestyles on each end to maintain. So yeah. Lastly, keeping it 100% real with you guys. I would say that accountability is very important. Not being with somebody physically is just really challenging. It presents so many challenges in so many different areas. And in a world where different temptations and opportunities present themselves, and I'm not justifying any behavior because of that fact, but in a world where that exists, being away from each other is 10 times harder. And so I believe it's very important to have accountability on each end. I would expect him to have some of some sort where he is, and for myself to have it where I am, because not even just like a temptation and opportunity, but sometimes it's just like, man, we got in an argument, or man, we're not really feeling each other right now, or we're upset about something. It's easier to go and do your own thing when you're not physically with each other, when you don't have to, face each other. So having, a friend, a small group at your church, some sort like family member, somebody to be there to hold you accountable, to check you, to kind of bring you back in, when you may be tripping, or you may be tempted, or whatever the case may be. So I think accountability is a major key, because in one place that I went to, I was straight up honest with him. We had a conversation. I was just like, opportunity is presenting itself way more than it has in any other city or any other place that I've gone. And so we had to have that conversation. And I had to kind of check different things, different behaviors, talk to different friends, not talk to different people, things like that I had to adjust. And so I think it's very important on both sides to just have accountability. Yeah. Think about that.
I think that's 100% true. And just accountability is good in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And just having a way that trust can be maintained even at a distance. Because, whether we're apart, you want somebody to act as if, they're with you still. So that's a major part of us. Want to just make sure that things are remaining the same, whether or not, we're in proximity to each other.
I think we've kind of went over a lot of things and kind of giving y'all a whole, relationship seminar for the free.